We've got this Observer Corps thing that you've probably heard about a few times in the past, and we have these meetings every, I don't know, 3 or 4 months where we get together at a coffee shop and we sit around with each other and we talk about what's been happening with the Observer Corps overall and what's been happening with the groups that we watch. And we always end up having these fascinating conversations with each other. At least they're fascinating to us. And it occurred to us that maybe it would be worthwhile to do something similar in front of the membership. In other words, sort of duplicate one of our meetings, but in front of the membership so that the whole membership could both hear what we're up to and participate in the conversation that we have every few months. And so what we were going to do tonight in person was sit in front of you and gather you all around and like a round table and talk about that. So instead we're going to do it by Zoom. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have I'll give a brief overview of what Observer Corps is, just to remind you what it's about. And then we're going to go around to each of the members who's been observing stuff lately and have them introduce the entity, the governmental entity that they've been observing to you so that you know what we're talking about. And then we'll go around again and have this more informal conversation where they will talk about what's been happening, and it'll be a chance for you to engage with questions or comments as we go. Hopefully it'll work in a Zoom format. So let me start by just saying a little bit about what Observer Corps is about. You've probably heard me talk about this in the past, but go back one. Go back.
Wait for you to tell me to proceed.
There's two channels. One direction is we're learning from what we observe. So we try to learn what these different local governments do, how they function, how they operate, what the issues are that they're tackling. And we do that to sort of bring back that information to the entire league so that we're all more aware, more educated about what our local government is doing. But then on the other hand, there's another channel, and that is that we're putting these governmental agencies on notice that we actually care, that we're interested, that we want them to operate according to their own bylaws and rules, and we want them to know that we're engaged. So Observer Corps is this two-way street where we learn from them and we also help them be engaged with the public. Okay, next slide. So now what we want to do is we'll start by going around and have each member of the Observer Corps who has been observing their group tell us a little about their group before we then go around a second time and talk about what's been happening lately. First, we're going to go county first, then city. We'll start with Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority, which is Joe Foley, and I think she has 2 slides. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi. I just love solid waste management. So I've really enjoyed observing this really cool facility. And a lot of people don't realize that the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority, first of all, is owned by all the municipalities in Marquette County. So the 3 cities and all the townships own it together. It's supervised by a board of trustees that are appointed by the Marquette County commissioners. And they do, it's a full service land, it's called a landfill, but it's a lot more than a landfill. So they take waste from the cities like demolition waste from the hospital. That was a big chunk. They take commercial and household waste. They take the curbside recycling. They take food and yard waste if you bring it. They take household hazardous waste. They do both drop off and by appointment. And they even have a drug take back program, which I hadn't known. We have a really up-to-date solid waste management. And I think we go to the next slide. Okay, that's what they do. So, and this is an aerial view, which is actually not bad for a landfill, you know? And I just want to mention that our Solid Waste Management Authority has received the Pisces Award that was nominated by Eagle, and it comes from the EPA, and it's one of 6 nationally in 2025. And we got this because of our holistic approach to water quality and how we worked with multiple agencies to put together and to use the Clearwater State Revolving Fund to put together a state-of-the-art leachate treatment. That's any of the runoff from the landfill. So we actually discharge effluent that's cleaner than the water they receive. And it's by a reverse osmosis system that can handle PFAS and all the emerging pollutants that we know about. So we are pretty much state of the art as far as handling our effluent, and we got an award for it. So that's my introduction.
Thanks, Joe.
To solid waste.
So next slide. So
All
next
right.
is the Marquette County Board of Health, and so that's Laura Sabo.
All right. So like Joe loves solid waste, I have a big interest in public health and really find attending this board really interesting. So the Marquette County Board of Health basically oversees the functioning and activities of the Marquette County Health Department. The mission of the Marquette County Health Department, as it shows on the slide, is basically to keep us healthy by preventing disease, promoting healthy lifestyles, and protecting the environment. They offer direct health services or clinical health services through their own offices and in the schools that include like adolescent health, breast and cervical cancer screening, breastfeeding education, sexually transmitted infection testing and treatment, family planning, immunizations, TB testing, and they run the Women and Infants Children's Supplemental Feeding Program. Their community health division provides health promoting or chronic disease prevention information to the community through PSAs. They maintain a health resource library, and they develop community health policies, which kind of allow individuals to improve or maintain their health. So an example would be February was Heart Healthy Month, and the health department gets the word out about healthy habits that are good for your ticker. And their environmental health division, which I didn't really know much about before this, they kind of administer rules and regulations or statutes like the health codes, the food law, and the Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act. So basically, they ensure that our food and our drinking water are safe. They also do things like inspect swimming pools, hot tubs, body art places, and campgrounds to make sure that these places are meeting health codes. And I thought it was interesting. I saw on Joe's slide that the Solid Waste Department has a drug take-back program. The health department had started the first UP syringe program, making clean syringes available, but also taking back syringes. So the Board of Health is a branch of county government. It's responsible to the 6-member County Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners appoint the 7 members Board of Health. There is an application if you want to be on the board, and the Board of Health just changed their leadership. The County Health Board meets monthly, the 4th Wednesday of the month from 6 to 7 p.m. in one of the courtrooms on Baraga. I attended this board like for about a year, most of 2023 and into 2024, and then took a break. And then I resumed again in January, and then the February meeting got canceled. So, but I have found this board to be very welcoming to observers. They provided me with a packet, made sure that I had all the information that I needed. They seem to meet all the items on our Observer Corps checklist. It's a little bit like going to a League of Women Voters Marquette County meeting because half of the members, the board members, are league members. And I think some are in this meeting tonight, so feel free to pipe in if you have anything to add. And the medical director, Dr. Van Howe, is also a league member. And as you probably recall, he gave a really great presentation on the public health department back in October. And that presentation is available on our YouTube channel. If you missed it, it's a really good presentation. So that's it for now.
Great, thank you. Next slide. So next, we're now switching from the county to the city, and this is the Marquette City Commission, which Pri Burnham has been watching. So Pri.
Yeah, the city commission meetings are kind of tame, I think, by comparison, probably even boring. compared to some of the others. And one of the reasons for that is that we have a very strong city manager type of government and a paid staff. So a lot of the work that makes the city run actually happens in the departments. I'm going to put in a plug here for doing the city. Somebody tell me the name of it. The city
Citizens Academy.
Citizens Academy. Thank you. It's a great way to find out how the city actually runs. The commission itself is the legislative body. It's elected by the residents of the city, and then the city commission hires the city manager, the city attorney. They make appointments to boards. They do elect their own mayor. It's usually the person who served as the mayor pro tem. But very often the meetings are we've had meetings as short as half an hour because the staff, the planning commission, all of the people that do the behind the scenes work make their recommendations, and then those are approved often by a consent agenda that covers things like expenditures, contracts, all the stuff that's been worked out. Where a lot of the business and the controversy comes is in things like the planning commission. Every now and then the Marquette City Commission will hold they'll hold a budgetary meeting. That's a great one to go to find out how our budget is doing, what the priorities are for the budget. But a lot of the work is done not at the city commission level, but at the department level. So if you want to go, and the thing that I find most interesting and I've been attending the Marquette City Commission meetings for a long time, is in the public comments. That's where you get a lot of the issues. That's where we get a lot of the questions that we use for Vote 411 or Candidate Forum, because people can come to the Marquette City Commission, and they do, and they talk about everything from getting fluoride out of our water to Lakeview Arena, to having a dog park, to the e-bike policy. And this is where you really, there's no exchange between the public and the city commission directly. In other words, the city commission doesn't respond when somebody makes a public comment or asks a question, but then they go around at the end of the city commission meeting and they will address some of the issues that have been raised during the public comment. So it's really a fascinating way to find out what people are interested in terms of their city. Meetings are the second and last Monday of the month, although the March 9th one got shifted to March 16th. The other thing that I really like about attending the Marquette City Commission, besides the fact that they are very welcoming and often give shout outs to some of our programs like our candidate forums, is there's usually a presentation by one of the departments or advisory boards. That's the other thing that the city commission does. It makes appointments to all of the advisory boards, the parking, Parks and Rec, Arts and Culture, all of the advisory boards. So they do a presentation, and those are really usually very interesting. You find out what's going on within the city. So again, if you don't have a lot of time but want to come and find out what's going on in the city, city commission is a great one to observe.
Thanks, Bree. Okay, next slide. Which, as I recall, will be another city elected board. This is the City of Marquette's Board of Light and Power. This is Jean Seckley.
Yeah. Let's see, the Board of Light and Power, it's considered
Okay.
a municipal electric system in Marquette. It's owned by the city. The members are sworn in by the city clerk. BLP is responsible for the light and power operations of the city of Marquette. And then, of course, as it says, parts of 9 other townships. There are currently 60 employees. I've been observing I'm just going to abbreviate BLP for several years. And prior to that, Joanna Mitchell observed for many years. Their website has an informative recording called the 125th Anniversary Commemorative Video, and that's worth watching. Just takes about 10 minutes. And the history, there's a really interesting detailed history, decade by decade, of how this utility started with one hydroelectric dam in 1889 and how it proceeded to now serving 16 to 17,000 customers. So it's pretty fascinating. The meetings, I'm always welcomed. I am often the only person there, other than, of course, like 10 staff members. The lawyer for the board is there. The board one time was almost short on a quorum, but then the fourth came in. So orderly, the agenda is available, public comments offered, of course. They always look to me to see if I want to make a comment since I'm the visitor. Not much media there anymore, which is kind of the way of it, unfortunately. Robert's rules is followed. Minutes are posted on the website, so though sometimes like 6 to 12 months later. So it takes a little while for the minutes to get there. But that's it for overview.
Thank you, Jean.
Yep.
Next slide.
Before I move on, can I ask, when I check the chat list to see if there's questions, can you guys see that? No? Okay, good.
Okay.
Since I'm screen sharing, I was a little bit worried. All right.
Okay, next is City of Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Now, technically, I'm no longer an observer because I'm now on the board again. So, but I thought I would still give both an overview and an update on what's happening since I was an observer for a while and I'm still on the board. So this is an authority under state statute. It's not just an advisory committee to the City Commission. The City Commission does appoint the members, but once appointed, they operate under a state statute. It was established in 1997 by the City Commission. We meet once per month. There are 7 members who serve 3-year terms. The city treasurer is a member ex officio, which means she doesn't get to vote, but she is our official treasurer. That's actually quite important because the authority has bonding authority, which is backed by the city, and we handle tens of millions of dollars. And so it's all intricately woven in with the budget of the city. So it's really important that we have a treasurer who knows what's going on with the city. Our purpose is mostly to revitalize contaminated, blighted, and obsolete properties. I gave a talk about this a little while ago, so I won't go into any more detail than that. Next slide. Which is the City of Marquette Downtown Development Authority, another authority. This one's followed by Darlene Allen.
So I've been observing the Downtown Development Authority, the DDA, for about 2 years now. And it also is an authority like the Brownfield, this one under Michigan Public Act 57. What that means is that it's a legally independent entity that can make binding decisions and raise funds, while an advisory committee to the City Commission only provides recommendations. So it has a little bit more authority. It was established in the city of Marquette in 1976. As a board, it meets once per month. It's the second Thursday, and they meet at the Marquette Commons, and they are public is very welcome and has opportunity to provide comment if you're there at the meeting, or you can submit comments via email. they also have a really excellent website if you'd like to learn more about the authority. Because they're under state guidelines, they're required to report quite a bit. And you can find all that reporting on the website to know what they're up to and what they're doing. There are 9 board members, and they are also appointed by the city commission. The city manager is an active member of the committee. And then in addition, there are a variety of downtown business or property owners or residents that are on that board. Also very integral to the meetings and the work that they do are the staff. They have 5 office staff and 10 maintenance staff that do the work. And the mission of the authority, the DDA, is to preserve and strengthen the downtown to create a healthy and vital downtown experience. So that's really, they do quite a bit of work, and they are focused for the city, they are focused on the downtown area. So the Marquette City Commission covers the whole city. The DDA focuses specifically on the downtown area, and that's very purposeful. It's to help communities have a focus so that downtowns don't become blighted and deserted, and because the central city is vital to the strength of a community. So that's one of the reasons why they have the DDA, and that's one of the reasons why our city decided to adopt a DDA. When I first started observing, I was a little bit suspicious because part of their primary funding actually in some ways takes tax money from the city. And I thought, does that really make sense? But over time, I've found that the focus provides a great deal for our community. And I've also found that what I've seen when I've connected through the city commission and through reports back from the DDA from the city commission is that the city commission is pleased by what the DDA brings, that while the city also relies on funding and needs that funding, they respect and understand that the DDA brings a lot to the community. So that's changed for me. And, I don't know all of the intricacies and details of the funding. It's somewhat complex. I feel like through my observation, I've found it's a pretty worthwhile group to have as a part of our community. The funding is through what they call tax increment financing. It's TIF. And it's an interesting mechanism that basically allows the DDA to capture the growth of the local property taxes. That the assumption is with the DDA in operation, they improve the downtown and therefore property values go up. And as that goes up, for a period of time, they get to capture that additional money that's raised as revenue. And so that's what they utilize. For our Downtown Development Authority, they cover basically the downtown area, and it goes from Ridge Street down to Bluff. So Ridge Street in the north down to Bluff, Ridge and Bluff from the north down to Berga to the south. And it goes quite a ways down Washington Street west. And then the 3rd Street business corridor has been under the DDA for a period of time, but the TIF funding has been recently added to what they're able to do. So it's an interesting group with a very specific purpose, and it's open to people to come. And if you're interested in downtown and the decision making that goes on for what they do, I encourage people to check that out. So that's it for now.
Thanks, Darlene. Next slide. Next is the City of Marquette Planning Commission, which is Joanna Mitchell.
Right. The City of Marquette has had a planning commission for 80 years. surprisingly, perhaps surprisingly, it's also established through statute. It's not a locally conceived plan to have a planning commission. The Michigan Planning Enabling Act actually sets out what the responsibilities and duties are of the planning commissions, and the planning commission must make and adopt a master plan for the city and review it at least every 5 years. And they review all the development proposals, and they make recommendations to the city commission on zoning. Marquette's planning commission also exercises all of the powers and duties of a zoning commission, and those are also authorized by a statute. Marquette's zoning ordinances are compiled in the Land Development Code, if you're trying to find them. They're not under zoning ordinances. And while the city commission has the last word on zoning, the authority for that master plan lies squarely with the planning commission. So it's an interesting balance. They make an annual report to the city commission on all their operations and the status of their planning activities with recommendations once a year. And they also have the authority to review the city's 6-year capital outlay budget. The membership, let's see what's on the slide here. Yeah, the membership of the members, one member always serves on the Board of Zoning Appeals in addition to serving on the commission. And the members really bring a variety of talents and credentials to the table. It's an impressive group, and the latest addition is Jacob Guter, who I think is in the meeting today, a league member. There's currently a vacancy to serve. You'd apply to the city manager to be appointed by the city commission to the planning commission. Dave Stensis, the city planner, and Andrea Landers, the city zoning official, they both attend planning commission meetings, and they provide training, background material, and technical support because it's a very technical, like the Brownfield Authority. It's not exactly a simple job of work to serve on that commission. They do meet twice a month, and if there's no business to conduct, the meetings are canceled. Video recordings are available online, but the audio quality is very uneven. Happily, the minutes are almost word-for-word transcripts. So if you're trying to follow what they're up to, the minutes are excellent and quickly published. The agenda is online. It's published online 1 week in advance of the meeting. So if you click on the agenda link, you'll retrieve not just the agenda, but the whole packet, as well as the draft minutes of the previous meeting. So sometimes that's many tens of pages. This is really useful when months later you want to retrieve a report or a map or an article that you remember. It's all still there. It's really efficient. Am I taking too long, or should I keep going?
You're doing good.
Okay. What goes on at these meetings? Nothing brings people out to a meeting like a proposal to develop or rezone a property. These are really lively meetings, and the Planning Commission has to base its decision on any proposal on its compliance with the statutes and ordinances, sometimes in the face of heated public opposition. And as recently occurred, their recommendation can be promptly overturned in City Commission. Less riveting but vital, the Commission completed last May a 6-month-long review of the Land Development Code, which was heroic, with an eye to affordable housing in particular. But still, amendments to the Land Development Code are proposed at every single meeting, some for clarity or correction, and others that reflect changes on the ground that happen every day in our city. And lastly, provocative articles on planning are brought by Dave Stensis, brought in for discussion. The articles are often from the Michigan Planner, and the latest, for example, was on universal design and zoning. So this is really a vital and interesting organization, and as where a lot of work is done. The meetings can run a couple hours, and I think I've really been impressed with the level of transparency and commitment of the commission members.
Thanks,
That's
Joanna.
all.
All right, so we can dispense now with the slides and the presentation format. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do the best we can to duplicate our meeting, where we just go around and talk about what we've been seeing lately. And I encourage any of you to pipe up with questions or comments. If it gets too out of control, I'll bring it to an end. But it really is a chance for you to weigh in if you have a question or a comment. And just to show you, well, before I do that, let me just make one pitch. We are very much interested in having other people join the Observer Corps. If you have something that you're interested in watching, you can watch it. If someone's already watching what you want to watch, you can join whoever's already there. If it's not one of our priorities, it doesn't matter. If you're interested in something, you can watch. If you want to know what our priorities are right now, we've had people who have watched in the past the county board. We don't have anybody doing that right now. We'd love to have somebody follow the Marquette County Board. Patty Gagnon has been watching the maps, the school board, and she's going to step away from that. So we'd very much like to have someone take that over. And if you live in a township, not one of the cities, but live in one of the townships, or Ishpeming or Nagani or Gwynn, we would love to have people watching those as well. So just let me know if anytime, email me, whatever, we can hook you up and get you involved. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room, so to speak. I'll go first just to set the tone, and then I can sort of watch to help to see if there's anybody who's got a question or a comment. So Brownfield, again, is what I've been watching and now a part of it. I'm just going to mention a couple of issues that have come up recently that you may be interested in. One I've talked about a little bit in the past, and that is the old hospital site. That continues to be a big ticket item as we're moving forward. I think I've mentioned in the past that there was a big decision recently that was approved both by the Brownfield Authority and the City Commission to repurpose the money that was originally going to go to demolition, but which was taken care of by state grants, to integrated parking, which will allow that site to be developed about double the amount of money, double the investment, double the density. And so that's a big deal. That's sort of changed the trajectory of what's going to happen there. Details are still to come. The community is very, very interested in this because it's going to affect a huge part of the town. Viridia is the one that's doing that. So really pay attention in the coming months. You're going to start to see more specifics from Viridia about what they're planning. And the public will want to weigh in on that. So that's the first one. The second one that you probably haven't heard about is the Vault Hotel, which is the old savings and loan bank downtown. That's been a project for several years now. It is also getting somewhat repurposed, although the decisions have not yet been made. So there's a chance here again to weigh in. What's happened there is they had a bunch of tenants in that savings and loan building, and the original plan was to redevelop the savings and loan building itself, then to add additional buildings behind that whole block. So that whole open parking lot would get redeveloped, and then they'd put in a parking deck. So it was like a 3-phase program. But what's happened is there's a dentist who renewed, she said, I want to renew my 5-year lease. And the hotel said, well, you can't just renew the 5-year lease. We've just bought this place to redevelop it. And that went to court. It's been litigated, and at least at the district court level, the judge agreed with the dentist that she can renew her lease for 5 years, which is very upsetting to the developers. So what they've decided to do is they're going to change the entire order of this thing. So now, since they can't start on the hotel because they've got a person in there who won't leave, they're going to postpone the development of the actual savings and loan. They're going to start with the new hotel behind. So they're going to do the hotel rooms behind along the Lakeshore Drive first. So they're going to basically build that first, then build a much less expensive triple-decker parking area, and then when they're done with that, they'll go to the hotel. So this still has to be approved by both the authority and the city commission. If it isn't approved, the word is they probably will just abandon the whole thing. We'll see in the next probably couple of months whether it's going to go through or not. So pay attention to that. Those are both the big ticket items moving forward on Brownfield. If there are any questions, raise your hand, or if you have any comment. Otherwise, we'll start to go to the next person.
David, one
Yep.
question.
Yep.
You mentioned a 3-decker parking lot like that was different than the one they had planned.
Yes.
Is that was it something bigger planned?
Yeah, so originally it was going to be a totally enclosed, temperature-controlled parking deck like you'd see in a big city. That would take much longer to build, much more expensive, and would have to be near the end of the project. The original plan was to turn that parking deck over to the DDA, so the DDA would then take it over and would become part of city parking. But what they've done instead is they're just going to have basically an open parking situation that has the lower deck will be to service the new hotel they're building. The second deck will go from, Washington through to, what's the next one, Maine. And that'll be public. And then the top deck will be for the savings and loan building. So it'll still be providing slots for the public to use, because that's the whole idea is the hotel needs the parking places at night. The city needs them in the day. So if you build parking, you can, if you manage it right, you can take care of both issues. There won't be as many parking spots as there were before. They're basically going to own it themselves. They're going to keep it private. It'll be much quicker, easier to do, fewer slots, but the same idea. So that's basically what's happening.
Interesting.
Anybody else? All right. Well, who should go next? Does anybody want to volunteer to go next who's got an issue in their group? Yeah, Laura.
Okay. It's not really an issue, but the county board, they keep track of a lot of all those programs that I mentioned before, and they get all that information when they do their monthly meetings. And I thought I would just discuss one example of what they're keeping track of. So March is National Children's Dental Health Month. So tooth decay or cavities, it's the most common chronic disease in children. I didn't know that until this. 5 times more common than asthma, 7 times more common than hay fever, and affects like 46% of children in the United States, disproportionately those who live in poverty. So untreated tooth decay, puts kids at risk for chronic pain, disfigurement, impaired development, social isolation. It's been shown to affect academic performance, even aside from socioeconomic situation, and it has long-term health consequences as they move into adulthood. Yet it is one of the most preventable things, one of the most preventable conditions with the use of early consistent habits. So this is where the health department comes in. So our health department has a kindergarten oral health screening program in the schools, and they've done this for homeschooled kids too. In the 2025-2026 school year, the screening was conducted in 13 schools in 10 districts, which included 44 classrooms. That resulted in 589 kids in kindergarten received a dental screening. 110 kids had previous dental treatment. 71 of the kids had tooth decay present during the screening. Of those, 7 had severe tooth decay. And for 63 of the kids who were screened, it was their first ever dental visit. So in addition to this screening program, the health departments receive funds from the Marquette Community Foundation for dental outreach, which has included getting kids to the dentist to be able to treat their condition. And some of those funds were used to purchase toothbrushes and other dental supplies for families in need. The other thing the health department does is, PSAs or public service announcements to get the information out to families that these services are available and to get their kids screened. So that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg, but really important stuff that's going on. And again, this information is available about all the programs that they do in their minutes. Their minutes are online. And I just want to throw out there, if anybody's interested in co-observing, the health department would be really interested in joining up with you.
So new rule, obviously, every person who speaks tonight has to include something about dentistry. So mine was the dentist in the building. So, Laura, I did have a quick question. It's just tangentially related, but I remember that the city commission. I know this is county that you're doing, but the city commission is routinely gets comments from a local group who wants to get fluoride out of the water, and they're like totally against fluoride in the water. And I know that our current Secretary of Health and Human Services at the federal level is going along with this idea of let's get fluoride out of the water. Is this something which has come up at all in your board?
Yes, it has. I had a feeling that was going to come up tonight too. And the health department does have a statement on it, and it's online, and I can send the link to what they say about it. They do support fluoride in the water.
Okay.
And I was just going to say the same thing, David. Every city commission, almost, you get this group that comes and says we should get fluoride out of the city water. At some point, we may end up having somebody from the county health. I know we've had individuals come and talk about the importance of fluoride, but I wonder if at some point the city commission will invite somebody from the county health department to come and talk, or whether it'll just be one of these ongoing things. There are other issues like this that the city commission hears about, monthly, but yeah.
And Pri, that's a perfect segue. You've managed to bring up dentistry for the city commission. Why don't you go ahead and let us know what else has been going on with the city commission lately?
And Joanna had her hand up too.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
just a quick question about vaccination rates locally. Are you having issues with that with our new federal?
Thought that might come up too. So actually, Marquette County has one of the highest immunization rates in the Upper Peninsula.
Good.
And they're up in the upper quartile for Michigan as well.
Great.
But it has
decreased. But it has decreased. I'm
Yeah.
on that board.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judith, I knew you were on, so I was going to ask if you could add anything to the fluoride.
There was it was a few months ago, and there was a public forum. I think it was in Negaunee. Yes, it was in Negaunee, where there was somebody from the health department came and spoke in Negaunee, and then there was other people who spoke against it. But as of right now, Negaunee still has fluoride in their water.
To the immunizations, the health department has received a lot of guff over the immunizations.
Yes. Yes, and we just
But they're standing
hiring
strong.
process
They're
of-
standing strong with the Michigan Department of Health leader too.
And we just went through a new hiring process with the director for the health department, which is now Patrick Giacuzzo. And in the interview process, all of the interviewees were asked how they would deal with the question of supporting our mission in Marquette County as opposed to Kennedy's. And I mean, it was one of the most important questions they had to answer, that they would stand strong with the opinions of the Marquette County Board.
Great.
Thanks. Okay, now Pri.
I think one of the tensions at the city commission is always, they've been dealing with budgetary issues for the last few years, and they are still working to try to come up with a balanced budget. They can't spend the money on some of the services. So we always get people coming in to talk about how come you didn't fix my road, or how come you didn't plow my street, or whatever. And that has actually produced probably the most controversy at a city commission meeting when there's been a proposed development, especially along the shoreline, where the city is torn between needing the tax base but not wanting to change the personality of the city. So those have probably engendered the most controversy. I don't think this vault one that the original one, they were pretty much behind it, and I would imagine that won't generate a lot of controversy since it's an existing building and they're just going to add to it. But there was a while ago, there was a planning commission recommendation to change zoning on a lot over by Merseydotes. And because of public opposition, the city commission voted not to go along with the planning commission. But by and large, 90% of the time, I would say the city commission goes along with the planning commission recommendation. But we're going to come up with some Lakeview Arena is an issue that comes up. What to do with Lakeview Arena, how to support it, whether to fix it up, whether to spend the money on it. One of the candidates for city commission, a perennial candidate, that's his big issue. The other issue that comes before the city commission constantly is the lack of affordable housing within the city. But there's not a whole heck of a lot that the city commission can do other than through Brownfield, which, as David has informed us, Brownfield is now able to actually do some development of properties to increase affordable housing. So the city is delighted with that, but it's an issue, it's a perennial issue, and it's one that they really don't have a lot of control over.
And I would say too, I used to watch the city commission. That was the first thing I observed. And I agree with Pri that normally it's pretty calm and pretty short. But I think that the city commission also has the biggest controversies and the biggest audiences when things do come up. And so every once in a while, something gets really hot and everybody comes. I've seen lines out the door. And those are pretty interesting meetings. So.
Yeah.
So unless there's another question from somebody, we'll go to, since it's another segue, we'll say Planning Commission next, maybe with Joanna. And let us know about dentistry too, Joanna.
Well, I can't dream up a connection there, but I am happy to follow Pri because a company called Toole Design, Toole Design, has drafted for the city an active transportation plan, and it addresses bicycling and pedestrian travel. And the draft, if you're interested in seeing it, was presented to the Planning Commission, and it's attached to their January 6th agenda. They were able to, Sean Hobbins brought the draft to get the Planning Commission's reaction to, what had they overlooked, or how did it need to be enhanced before it became a final report. It doesn't have an executive summary. It's obviously a draft. And the Planning Commission advised them to focus on a set of hazardous crossings in the city that have a long history and are complicated problems to solve, and they felt that they were overlooked. But January 6th is getting to be a long time ago, and I wondered, Pri, if anything's come up with city commission about the active transportation design.
No.
Okay.
No. So I don't know where that stands. I don't know if they're still working on it.
But anyway, for those who are interested in that aspect of Marquette's planning and development The January 6th Planning Commission agenda has a meaty report attached to it. And the Planning Commission has often said in the past that traffic engineering has been all about how to move cars as fast as possible to their destinations, to the detriment of public safety and welfare. So the commission, the Planning Commission, is really leaning in to this concept of people-centered transportation land use principles, whatever those might be. So,
Sue Holiday, you have a question?
No, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I sent a link for a citizen survey for the master plan. And the city wants people to answer questions about the master plan, the next master plan. So look for that link.
Thanks, Sue. Joanna, anything else you wanted to cover, or anybody else have any questions for Joanna about Planning Commission?
they are onto a lot of important contemporary issues, like the last meeting, or not the last meeting, on March 3rd, a resident talked about the impossibility of having a front yard garden given our city's fence height restrictions. And a number of commissioners have been vocal meeting after meeting about encouraging gardens. And the commission asked the staff to explore some language that would enable like alternate temporary barriers or other measures to facilitate gardens in Marquette. So, I think there all the issues that you read about in the news relative to urban planning pop up in this commission. And like Laura Sabo, I'd be happy to share this group with someone else, because it does meet twice a month, and it takes a little homework to keep up with, but it'd be fun to share it with someone and exchange ideas.
Great. Thanks, Joanna. Well, Jean Seckley is next to you on my screen, so maybe we'll move over to you, Jean. And you are muted, so.
If I had lots of time, I had a whole bunch of really interesting history to share, but I do want to tell this one. And during the Depression, when customers were having trouble paying their bills, they were allowed to work on the dams and the transmission poles to help pay off what they owed. That was pretty cool. So for the issues, well, as with the Clean Energy and Jobs Act of 2023, that was passed and signed by the governor, that has the high requirements for clean energy and renewables. With the current legislature, the representative in Lansing has come and toured, and he has been hosting new bills that are meant to weaken the Clean Energy and Jobs Act of 2023. And so, I see the BLP board, they will do things like purchasing RECs, which are renewable energy credits. And in so doing, it's a good thing, because for utilities that don't generate enough electricity by renewable, which for us is hydropower and solar, the utility may purchase into other projects to help meet their obligations. So they are doing some things, but the BLP still seems kind of worried about that legislation from 2023, and they are fully behind this new legislation. So that, I think that's passed the House, not yet the Senate. But it's like, how much do we go renewable and force it, and how much don't we? So that it's always very interesting that the BLP, because they don't have shareholders, there's no profit. The goal, and I think they're good at it, is providing reliable electricity, and their concern is fair prices for their ratepayers. So that is their priority. One of the big things they just did was the second interconnection. It took 40 years. It was on the wish list, but finally we are connected to the grid in 2 spots, which is a redundancy, but to prevent power failures, which probably would have made a difference with that big holiday storm. And it's evident if you've come up from the Four Corners, past the ski hill, to the Shiras substation, all these new poles, and it's active now. And then one other thing that has just come up is it was first proposed last winter, and then at the last meeting, this is for anybody that has opinions on how the land where the Shiras plant once stood is developed or not developed. The lake bottom lands, as always, they belong to the state. They're now acres of concrete. And in 1964, the city bought that land to produce electricity, but the purchase agreement that was signed has a reverter clause, and that's what they're all trying to figure out now. And it states that if ever the land is no longer needed for electricity production, it reverts back to the state of Michigan. And the DNR here in Marquette is proposing reclaiming some of that land for the state and putting a 2-story boathouse on it for the 2 boats they keep here in Marquette in the summertime. And then they want to store them there in the wintertime. And the one is the Char, which is always downtown along the hard concrete wall. And the other they keep up at Presque Isle. One's forest or fisheries research, one is enforcement. So both so far the board has been willing to do this, to let the DNR put these properties there. So they're both taking 2 months. BLP is looking at all the legal aspects and ramifications. DNR is doing the same. And then if DNR gets the land back with this reverter clause, then they'll try to get the funding. So they plan on voting on this in May. And so for anyone who's concerned about development on the lakeshore, now's the time to go to these meetings and state your opinions at the March and April. It's always the 4th Tuesday of the month. You can go make comment. In some ways, I think that the state will be able to pretty much do. They might have the higher power in this, but anybody that objects to that happening to that land right by South Beach, now's the time to speak up. And then also the local DNR director is willing to talk to people next Tuesday. And they are asking for RSVP. So if anybody wants to go, let me know. And I'll be going to both these meetings too.
Great. Thanks, Jean.
Yeah.
David, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
We're past our usual time of stopping, but we're not getting thrown out of the library.
Yeah.
I'm happy to continue and finish our discussion, but anyone who needs to leave, of course, can leave. I just want to mention that.
Two more is all. So
Yeah.
Joe, why don't you go ahead?
Oh.
And go ahead, and people can leave if they need to, and we'll have Joe and Darlene, and we should be done here fairly shortly.
Well, I was trying to figure out how to connect this to dentistry. Besides the fact that my dentist is in the vault building.
Oh.
Anyway,
got it. Interesting.
Yeah. So this is how I do it. You can get noxious gases from someone with really bad teeth, right? So we're dealing with noxious gases at the landfill. And the landfill, of course, as things decompose, produces methane and probably other gases, but primarily methane. And that, of course, is a climate change gas. So probably within a decade, maybe less, there's going to be state mandates for landfills to capture that gas so that it doesn't escape into the atmosphere. Knowing that's coming, an opportunity presented itself to the Marquette County Solid Waste Authority that I thought was fairly remarkable. They very much have to follow state mandates, and they want to be ahead of them because they're always expensive. Everything is hugely expensive. We're talking big machinery and, big deal things. So what happened was that a company approached the landfill with a proposal to build the infrastructure to collect the gas. They would sell it to a receiving pipeline company, which Semco is right there, right? Their pipeline's right there. And they would pay, the company would pay for the design and the permitting and the building and the operating and the maintenance of all the infrastructure for a minimum of 20 years, and it can be extended for another 10. And they would pay the authority $25,000 upfront and $25,000 a year for that whole time. And then if the amount of gas, and therefore the amount they can sell, exceeds the amount that's expected, and there's been assays of that, then the authority gets even more, like a percentage of the extra. And at the end of that time, the authority can buy the whole infrastructure for $1. So this is roughly a $2.3 million investment that the landfill would have had to do at some point fairly soon anyway, because of the state mandates coming. And we got it paid for. And it had a little bit of a tight deadline to get ground broken for it. And that happened just before the freeze. So everything's good with the permits, and it's starting to evolve. They've got people there that are teaching the other landfill people how to operate it, and it's all going to come together. So we capture, the methane. It gets put to use as a green gas. That's considered a green gas, a green energy source. And we didn't have to pay for it, and we get paid for it. So it's one of those win-win situations that doesn't come along all that often for a municipal facility. And I thought that was really cool. And they did a lot of due diligence, before they made the decision to do it. But it looks like it's going to be a really cool deal.
Awesome. Darlene, you want to finish up for us?
Sure. No connection to dentistry, but I do have some connections. David brought up the parking with the vault through the Brownfield, and he said that it was going to be going to the DDA, and now it's not. One thing to know about the DDA is parking is a huge part of what they do. They have 8 lots that they're responsible for, plus the Bluff Street ramp. A total of 433 spaces downtown and 142 on 3rd. A total of 1,340 spots. And so part of what they do is they manage those spots, they make decisions about them, and also they are responsible for charging people for parking there. 3rd Street is a new part of the funding to the DDA through the TIF. And so they're going to be providing more resources to that 3rd Street area, but they're also going to be looking at the parking on that 3rd Street area and what they need to do with it. And that they will be making decisions about if they will be charging for the parking, how to keep that parking safe. Right now, there's certainly some issues about being able to see to pull out on cross streets and whether that's safe or not. And so the DDA will be at least involved in that decision making, along with, I'm sure, the planning commission in the city as well too. But parking is a huge part, and I'm sure they're probably very relieved that they don't have another whole lot to take care of. The other connection is mentioned that budget is an issue for the city commission, and that's something that I mentioned is through the DDA, through the TIF financing. Technically, the DDA is pulling off some of that funding from the city to focus on the downtown area. But the city is very aware of that. And the last time that the DDA made their proposal for their current TIF plan, the city negotiated and said, that we understand that TIF financing and that's for the DDA function, but we want a little bit of that back. So they negotiated that and got some of that funding back. And so there's a lot of interplay, certainly between the city commission, the DDA, and the Brownfield, a lot of interaction. And that's one of the things we find interesting in these meetings when we're talking, the overlap that occurs. The other thing is, I think mentioned the affordable housing issue. And so through a DDA project where a business owner was going to be rehabbing a spot, and they were going to be putting some affordable housing in, and they were using some sort of state funding to do that. But to do that, they had to have a certain number of affordable housing units, but the grant only required one. And that's what they proposed. And so through the DDA and the city commission, they said, that's not good enough. So I'm not sure where it is in planning, but I do know that they added some additional spots in there for affordable housing right in the downtown area. So a lot of overlap. The other thing I just want to mention quickly before we go is the DDA does a lot of really fun and interesting things for the downtown community. They're responsible for the farmers markets, both the one on Saturday and the one that's on Wednesday now on Washington. One of their staff is the one responsible for making that happen. They do the Blueberry Festival, music on 3rd, classic cars on 3rd, and they have staff dedicated to that to help plan that, organize it, work with businesses, set it up. And a big part of what they're attempting to do is make it a interesting and enjoyable downtown for community members, for visitors, but also help attract those visitors and community members downtown so that they spend money and help our local businesses thrive. So yeah, I think, and like I said, I don't have anything to comment about a dentist. I don't know if there's a new dentist in the area or, but I think that's it. If there's any questions.
Well, that's great. So anyway, I'll just conclude by saying this. If you're interested in learning more about what's happening in local government, this is one of the many great ways to do it. I encourage you to do it. You can also come drink coffee with us and chat about what's happening. And so just let us know if you want to jump in, and we'll get you hooked up. So I think we're done, Joe.
Great. Good job, guys, all of you. And we only went like 15 minutes over our usual time, and I think it was well worthwhile. Any final comments from anybody, any members out there? Like, does anyone see? I see clapping. I see thumbs up. That's nice. 25 people hung in there till now.
Yeah, I must admit, sometimes with minutes, I'm listening more because I'm interested, so I might miss things. So when I send the draft minutes out, anything you want for Observer Corps especially, feel free to fill it in.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can be wordy.
Well, sometimes I get involved listening, and it's like, oh, yeah, I probably should write some down,
For sure. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone screaming for comments, so I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all so much for so many of you joining us on Zoom.
Yeah, 34. Great.
Yeah.